Welcome to the Cosmic Intelligence Agency's next broadcast. It's actually part 2 of our Venus update. Ariel Gutman, Kelly Hunter, and myself did one the other day. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may not have yet, but we're doing part 2 today with these two amazing astrologers. I've got the blokes today. Welcome, Adam and Gemini. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. So stoked to be here.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Now, probably a lot of you don't know these two pretty well in the astrological community, but some of you don't. But I'll start with Adam because he's up here. Adam Gainsbourg has done many, let's say, Venus updates with us over the years, as he wrote a book. What was it, in 2014, maybe? 2012, called Venus.
The Light of Venus.
The Light of it. Sorry, I just forgot the title, which of course was very much to do with the different phases of Venus in a full cycle. So an incredible book. That's why I've invited him to these Venus symposiums, because of his awareness of the wonderful cycle of Venus. So thanks for being with us, Adam,
Thank you
and all the other things. And then the amazing Gemini Brett, who one of the favorites, I think, with the CIA and other places, because of your wonder of the stars and how you connect us to the starry sky out there. Thanks for joining us.
It is my treat, and it's so nice to be here with you and with Adam and connect these hearts across the world. Both teachers of mine, and I've learned so much by following you and following Venus, so I'm excited to share this love.
Fantastic. Well, that's what agents do. We learn from each other. We pass on the light and the torch. So it's wonderful to gather some information with you guys today. So as I mentioned in part 1 with Ariel, we talked about the cycle, the bigger cycle of Venus, and the importance of the shift that we're going through coming up October the 22nd, or not particularly exactly on that date, but that's when Venus and the Sun come together in their next star point, as we call it. And in this process, she transitions from, well, she's at the midpoint of transitioning from a morning star to an evening star. And Adam's going to talk about a lot about that a lot more with us coming up. And what we want to focus on is what we're offering on October the 2nd as a symposium with the 5 of us, Adam, Gemini, Ariel, Kelly, and myself. And I'll show you the program a bit later. But we're coming together to put together, you know, this incredible story of what Venus is up to with this transition, with this big transition coming up that is the first star point in Libra, which we talked a lot about with Ariel in part 1. And if you missed that, you know, make sure you have a look. So let's get into it a bit. What's your general sort of thinking at the moment with Venus? She's in Leo. She's about to disappear. She's about to disappear in the sky in the next week, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
She will much sooner for you than she will for us in the Northern Hemisphere, Julia.
Okay. Well, that brings in the latitude and declination.
And
Yes.
really importantly, as in the tradition, they were called straight and crooked signs. And so this is one of the things that Venus has taught me, just as a disciple and a sky disciple, and like Adam, just going out there before the sun and waking up to see Venus, especially at these beautiful times of Moon Venus conjunctions. I'll show you a picture of the last one. But if you go out there, then Venus every now and then will say, hey, have you met my friend, right, who's Mercury? And the trickster makes it like much more challenging. There's times like Mercury's elongated right now as an evening star, but that doesn't mean that Mercury will be visible. I mean, right now, like incredibly visible in the Southern Hemisphere and not so visible in the Northern Hemisphere. And so some of what these planets have been initiating me into as teachers is not only things like latitude and elongation, which I had learned from Daniel Jamario at the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. But literally that sign, some signs rise like this and others like this. And it makes all the difference in the
depends where you
world.
are.
And
Depends where you
well, it
are.
depends northern, southern hemisphere most significantly, but then also how far you are from the equator. It's a huge deal. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, and especially in the Aries star point where we began this whole thing, where I've kind of been coaxed by Ariel into working with the conjunction instead of the 10-degree heliacal rise, which I was taught in the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. I've since found that 10 degrees might be actually like a really good global average, and that becomes super interesting because this energy of love should connect us all, right? But like locally, I actually think that in the coming Aries conjunction, there might be a chance that even during the conjunction, there's places on Earth where Venus will be seen as an evening star, and other places on Earth where Venus will be seen as a morning star, like literally in that moment. And I'm hoping we can get agents around the globe like on point to like take a picture of that happening.
Yeah,
So
right.
so I think here in the northern hemisphere, even though Venus is pulling within the 15 degrees Hellenistic condition of under the beams, or Venus is so bright, we often use a 10-degree kind of rule of Venus's phase angle from the sun when she disappears. If you're in the northern hemisphere in this particular cycle, I think you'll find that even maybe in the coming moon Venus conjunction, almost a month from now, that you'll still be able to see Venus. So yeah, keep giving your heart, keep waking up before the light, and giving your energy to the goddess, because the way that typically works is if she's available like quote unquote late in the northern hemisphere, then she becomes available as an evening star later too. So yeah, catch her while you can and bring your offerings.
Well, yeah, I mean, nothing like being an agent under the stars and watching it happening day after day. If it's clear, we've had cloudy 3 months, in Melbourne, so really not fun. Adam, how's your thinking now as Venus is moving into some call the underworld?
Before I get to that, I just wanted to affirm what Brett's sharing here, because I had an experience where I went to bed. I was in the state of Vermont in the US. I went to bed watching Venus set. I woke up the next morning and I watched Venus rise. I saw Venus before the sun, but I had to go above, I think it was 43 north latitude on the Earth to be able to see that. If I was down in New York City or Connecticut, I would not have been able to see that. So I'm just trying to say here that, I mean, it totally matters. Place on the Earth, time of year. And when I say place on the Earth, I mean not just north-south, but how far elongated from the equator on the Earth. So I guess I want to join. I'm just realizing now I want to join forces here with Brett, with like really motivate people. Like astrology is not just on the chart in the computer and in your mind understanding. Get out there and have your own visceral experience with the moving. What's moving.
I remember, Adam, you telling that was the Aries star point, yes?
Yes.
Because that's the one most separated from the sun. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly.
2009 was that, Adam?
I think it was, man. Yeah.
I mean, I love that you went. There's a thing I love about Adam's work. Like right now, I'm very much a student of the sky, and I'm learning all of these things. And
me too. Me too.
I'm a little hesitant to delineate right now. So watching Adam and fellow sky astrologers like Gary Caton, like actually like finding good delineations, or I know, Adam, you call them sky factors, right? For these different astronomical things, and like what might it mean? And it's been really cool to witness you and see that like it's right. And it totally works.
Just as an example, as a further inspiration, because quite honestly, I'm not in the public much anymore astrologically. So this is like, Julia, like when you invited, I was like, okay, I'm going to come do this. But what Brett mentioned about the sky factors, just everyone listening to this live or recorded, the chart factors are what we all learned from the beginning: sign, house, aspects, dignity. But there are these sky factors, like how fast is the planet relative to its median? How visible is it? Is it bright or dim relative to its magnitude range? And the one that's been most impactful, just like Red, I'm such a student of the sky. How far is the planet from the Earth, if you will, as the Corvus flies, like directly, relative to how close the planet can ever get to Earth? I call it Earth proximity. Not with no backdrop of a grid of the declination or latitude or the zodiac, just is the planet close or far? And that is like two people in an elevator standing very apart from each other, or two people forced to stand right next to each other in a crowded elevator. That's a different experience you're having. So these sky factors are super important.
It has
Like
me
Mars
interested in
was
asking
years ago.
Adam, when is
Mars,
Venus
like
closest to
Mars was,
Earth?
oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Yulia, I didn't see you
I was
there.
just going to say, like Mars was years ago in its closest
Exactly.
pass, yeah,
Exactly.
in
Yeah,
18
yeah.
or no, earlier I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, there
Sorry
was one
about
in
that.
2018, and then there was one much earlier. Yeah, like Mars and Jupiter in the same sky, and Mars was actually brighter. And like those were like April of August 2018. I got some cool images of that in Sedona.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Adam, when is Venus closest to Earth?
Venus is oh, I forgot, I didn't mention that. Venus is closest to Earth when Venus is retrograde cazimi, retrograde conjunct the sun. That's when Venus is literally in between Earth and Sun. So
And
for
when is
those
Venus furthest from Earth?
the opposite, the
What she's doing now.
the superior, what's called the superior conjunction, or when Venus is on the other side of the sun, which I call transmutation in my cycle of the Venus phases. The superior conjunction for me begins or initiates the process of transmutation through the feminine principle within each of us in our bodies. Rather than transformation, which is just general change, this is actually a mutation of the form that we are taking. So it's a much deeper impact, or it's a much deeper version of healing or growth or evolution. Thanks for asking, man. Yeah.
My tree, yeah, I think it's really important for us to have that like astronomical context. Even in the story of Inanna, and I was sharing that in one of our Venus gatherings recently, like there's two different underworlds, right? So there's the
Right on.
Abdu, where she visits Enki and receives the me, the holy adornments, right? And for me, like I'm going to say this is Venus, and oh, you are the earth and my face is the sun. And I think that that is this retrograde Venus, and that Enki's world of the Abzu is like this, the earth side of the sun. And that's a very short disappearance as an evening star, retrograde and rebirth as a morning star. And then the long disappearance is this descent into Ereshkigal's Kur. Right, and that place of that transmutation, as you say, or very clearly in the story, this death and rebirth, and then she shows up as an evening star again, right? And I think there's a really significant and beautiful difference of that retrograde interior, close to Earth conjunction, and that direct exterior, very far from Earth conjunction.
She's moving really fast with the sun for so long, you know, like keeping beat and then finally overtaking you. But it's really a long kind of moment. Like I looked into this a bit closer. So there's 40 days and 40 nights of Venus retrograde, but as you say, Gemini, she's only disappeared from light for, or sometimes never, if you're in the right place, for, you know, a little bit. Whereas within 5 degrees, you know, conjunction with the sun, she's doing that for about 40 days and 40 nights, right? So it's sort of like, you know, the same version on the opposite side. I always say the different perspective, you know, of the same cycle. We start with the retrograde, and then we've got a look at the, you know, another perspective. And as we know, every 4 years, like where she's heading now to the superior conjunction, 4 years ago, she was retrograde there, right? In that Scorpio zone in 2018, which was actually our last retreat, you know, during that time. So we canceled 2, and there's one coming up at the StarPoint. But so it's because it's in the same area of the zodiac and then our charts, we've got to look from a different perspective of the same kind of happening, different cycle of Venus. But, you know, of course, like a new moon phase, the retrograde in a sense, to a full moon, you know, to a full phase of Venus you know, to have a look at the same issues that are going on in that area. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's going to be my focus in our session coming up, to actually do, you know, personal charts with some of the people that come and book in to this amazing event we're having. Let us have a little talk. Adam, what's going to be your, it's the 2nd of October. Like I said, there's 5 of us. Adam, tell us a little bit about, without giving away all of it, what your topic is going to be for the hour given to you on our day.
Yeah, I'm going to be covering, I wanted to cover 2 things because I felt that these were the most important things that I could bring. The first, everyone, that I'm going to be bringing is an attempt to make declination accessible in understanding, not just generic or pure mathematical, but actual, like, tangible, delineationable understandings of what it is for a planet to be north above the celestial equator, what it is differently, even in the same sign, even the same degree of a planet that a planet will be in south declination, which will be in the same sign, even the same degree. And then also getting more fine-tuned. What does it mean, for example, if you have Venus in north declination, but Venus on your chart as in north is actually descending, coming closer to the ecliptic? Or how is that different than Venus in that same position, north declination, but ascending, getting more north, extending further from the equator?
Right.
So these things about north-south and then ascending, descending trends, as I call them, is what I'm going to be bringing.
Fantastic.
I'm
Great,
also
I'm excited.
Me too. It's really it's bringing back some old material that I never went public with, but now I'm really diving much deeper and wider into it to bring it forward, because I don't think I've ever brought this public before. Yeah.
Well, I love this kind of work because it's pioneering, and we, you know, as
it
astrologers,
is?
we
Oh, good.
love to sort of, well, I mean, there's a lot of people into declination and stuff, but maybe not looking at it, or, you know, as part of the bigger cycle
Right.
that a planet's in. You know, we
Right,
say, oh,
exactly.
it's parallel this, or it's contra parallel this, but it's not about the move. I mean, I have, you know,
Yes,
when a planet crosses 0, you know, from north to south or south to north,
Right.
you know, keeping an eye on those things.
Indeed.
I have been.
Yes,
like we
you
had
have been.
Jupiter and Mars meet on that 0 point, a few months ago.
Right.
I remember writing about it.
Julie, before I go on, let me just ask you a question. I have found I've kind of, I haven't done as much mundane research in the last couple of years, but I know you really stay on that. Do you find, well, let me say this. With my limited background in this, I'm starting to kind of get a sense that 2 planets sharing the same declination are actually more impactful often than 2 planets conjunct by longitude only.
I mean, because we can see them so many, like, miles apart, you know, millions of miles apart.
Right, exactly. My thinking behind this, very briefly, is that the declinational, or the declination, the equatorial grid system, it's our midriff. It's our planet's equator projected out into space. So anytime we're graphing that, it's very, very much about our own projection. It's our own thing.
Yeah.
Whereas when a planet is in longitude, like I have a planet in Aries, or I have another planet in Capricorn, or whatever, that's more like consciousness. That's set against the backdrop of an ecliptic, which is the path of the sun, which we don't live on the sun.
Yes.
We have the sun within us, but we don't live there.
Yeah.
So that's my thinking there. That I'm just trying to pose a different perspective.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see software get like that. You know, like we have our starry sky maps and all that kind of stuff, and we've got all the lines, and, you know, but wouldn't it be cool to see our astrology charts like that, like, you know, with Venus up or down, or, you know, whatever. I mean, but Venus, let me ask a question about Venus. because she's so regular in longitude orbit, like, very, very, would that mean that she's also not so up and down? Of course, she goes out of bounds and down again. She's got her rhythm there, but it doesn't align up. Anyway, you're going to
She's extreme in latitude, actually.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
The most extreme. Yes.
Oh, she's the most extreme.
Until
So
you get to Pluto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Right.
And that's distancing from the ecliptic, right? Which is, I call the ecliptic out in the circle of spirit. Then the equator, the circle of matter.
Matter. Beautiful.
Right. So then the truth of the tropical zodiac is it's the Earth's zodiac, and it's based upon, as you know, the intersection of the planes of the year. So Earth orbit of the sun, and that's the ecliptic, and that's where the planets tend to live. And then the equator, which is the plane of the day. Right. And that's just, it's all Earth, right? It's like Earth spinning, right? So that's like matter and embodiment. And so I love that, especially for Venus, like you're taking us there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing that Venus orbitally, right, Yulia, what you're speaking about, like her orbit is the most circular and like regular, and like it's freaky. And I mean, in other ways, however, she spins so slowly that the day is much longer than the year.
That's right.
And it's so hot on like there's like oddities happening with this goddess too.
Yeah.
Right? Like her tropical zodiac is like this really beautiful riddle, actually.
Yeah, right. Well,
But then she also, at least from Earth's point of view, less from the sun's point of view, but from Earth's point of view, Venus gets very far from the sun. And then, like, that's why Adam was able some years ago to be able to see Venus as an evening star and then as a morning star within
she's crossing over
a 12-hour period or whatever. So I really want to be initiated.
It looks like she's conjunct, just to explain to everyone, but she's way on top of the sun. Way.
Yeah. I just want to make that point to anyone who's kind of newer to astrology, who doesn't get this. When you're looking at your charts and you see a conjunction, those planets, that conjunction doesn't mean they're anywhere close to each other in physical space from Earth. Those planets could be 10 degrees away from each other in the vertical vector that we completely ignore when we're looking at the flat chart. Please, everyone, remember this. Yes. Some conjunctions, even at the same sign on one chart, compared with the same conjunction in the same sign on another chart, may have very, very different effects. And it's not always explained by different souls. It's literally the conjunction is itself elongated or not.
Yeah. I mean, I've always to mundane charts because there is so many variations. Like, again, researching when Jupiter and Mars were at zero, crossing north and south together a few months ago, very rare happening to happen at zero Aries. They do come together in different, spots. But anyway, so always put, check the declination charts as well. If you're more advanced, I suppose.
Brett, do we going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, I remember an Adam Gainsbourg talk called "Not All Conjunctions Are Created Equally," right? Where that was one of the main avenues into that. But a really cool thing, and like as we're talking about this movement to Libra and balance, is it's in the northern hemisphere sky for this coming Libra conjunction. Venus will be higher above the ground than the sun. Like, even though they look to be exact in the chart, Venus's northern latitude will make her like closer to the heavens in the northern hemisphere sky, but simultaneously closer to the ground in the southern hemisphere sky. Right. And while Libra itself, it's an equinox sign, so not late Libra as much as zero Libra. But it tends to play similarly in north and south. There's something about Venus like reaching for the heavens here and staying grounded south of the equator that I think really offers a beautiful essence of this balance that Libra wants to bring us towards.
Wow, gorgeous. Well, it's like her glyph. She's up and she's got the Earth cross and she's got the sun.
Beautiful.
She's got to be in both realms. Well, like the goddess she is. So Wow, it's going to be amazing, Gemini. Thanks so much, Adam. I can't wait for your session because, again, we'll learn so much. You know, I can grasp it, but I don't got it all yet. So
I will never have it all.
I'll never have it all. So that sounds amazing, fascinating. Gemini, tell us about what you're bringing into the amazing sacred geometry of the Venus cycle.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, listening to you and Ariel speak on the part one of this panel, right, where I didn't get to you speaking with Kelly Hunter yet, and I'm excited to. I was maybe half an hour into Ariel and you talking about this transition to Libra. It really had me, I almost wrote you about, hey, can I change my topic? There's a thing that I would love to just kind of add to your exploration probably today, because I do want to stick with my topic, which is really from the sacred geometry side. And it's in a way, it's like a, you know, Venus coming to Libra, there's like a homecoming, and also my opportunity to see in this particular star point, and specifically Venus coming back to Libra and making a almost exact biquintile aspect with Neptune in Pisces at the time. I get to have a bit of a cosmic, so we'll see that in the chart. Yeah, so I get to have a bit of a cosmic intelligence agency homecoming too, because the first thing I ever contributed for CIA was this whole kind of art of the chart and sacred geometry exploration. And
cool.
I went 4 in, and then I was like, wait a second, like I need to kind of like save that and like stew in that for a little bit. So then it just kind of disappeared. But we did the circle of spirit, and then the crescent of soul, and the cross of matter. And I was spending a lot of time in
that, in a way, weren't we? All your wonderful.
Yeah, well, I needed to be in there too. Like, actually, for my students at the School of Earth Astrology, I actually owe them classes on 7, 8, and 9 now. But there's one little key that I'm waiting for sevenness, because it's such a strange being. But I'm going to take us through the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, both from a kind of sacred geometry, one of the sister sciences of our craft. Like in the mystery tradition, we understand that astrology really is the rainbow bridge between astronomy and correspondences, right? I mean, these days we kind of think that there's astronomy and astrology, but really astrology is what connects the measurable heavenly happenings of astronomy and the immeasurable correspondences, right? The quantity and the quality. And the astronomy was known as number in time and space. And so we can learn much more about, like, you know, measuring the heavens if we understand number in time, which is frequency, and we do this in our cyclical studies. But the sacred science related to number and time is harmony, and then number and space is geometry. Or like these days, you know, saying sacred geometry lands better for people because they have these bad trips about something that happened in high school when you say just geometry or arithmetic, which is kind of like the bottom number itself. You know, I think number magic is a better way to look at that. So just looking at, you know, like, what is oneness? I mean, what if we were asked to contemplate that before they gave us 2 in school? And I think there's some truth to, you're not quite ready, or you're past ready once you get to that point in your learning, and it's meant to come around again. But exploring oneness and 2ness and 3ness and 4ness and 5ness is like living, breathing beings. And so that's one of the things that I'm really excited to share in our connection in October, and to celebrate this homecoming of Venus's star into Libra. And that on one level we can see this kind of beautiful biquintile star, of course, and either from Earth's point of view of Venus's dance with the sun, or from sun's point of view, Venus's dance with Earth. And, you know, it's interesting that the quintiles themselves, as a so-called minor aspect, really seem to have a Venusian nature. Like, is that because of this star, or is that just how it works? And in the Pythagorean tradition, or at least it's whispered, that they spoke of 5 as the number of love. Mm-hmm. So we see an energy there, but I will challenge that and then hopefully confirm that. And I'm actually interested in like breaking out the compass and the square and showing y'all like a couple different ways to draw a pentacle. because it's not so easy, right? In geometry, we have the rule, we have the thing that makes lines that are measurable, and we have the compass, we have the thing that makes curves that are not. And if you do that without measuring things, like to draw a 5-pointed star, it's a lot harder than drawing a square or even drawing a hexagon. Actually, we'll use the 6 as a way to 5, but we're also going to go back to Ptolemy and the alchemist and create a pentacle in a way that he showed there. And it's a different kind of adventure.
Yeah, okay, sounds amazing. And what was the other topic you were wanting to do?
But what I'm interested, I mean, like you and Ariel were just speaking in part 1 about this thing that we've touched upon before in our Venus journeys over these years now. It's amazing. We've almost gone full cycle, right? But it's that we have Venus in these 3 signs, these star points in Aries and Scorpio. Traditionally, Mars is domiciles by day and night, and also Capricorn, where Mars is said to be exalted as an honored guest. And that, in our lifetimes, perhaps we will see that now the Scorpio point moving from Mars's world to the Venus land called Libra, and that the Capricorn point is going to be there for some time, but eventually will make its way back to Sagittarius, and the Pisces point making its way to, or the Aries point making its way to Pisces, where Venus is said to be exalted. And not long after, to the 27th degree of Venus, or Pisces, where it's said to be the very specific degree of Venus's exaltation. So that's interesting. And then also the Gemini point will, and the Gemini point will regress to Taurus, right? So at some point, not too long, we will have Taurus and Libra and Pisces all activated. And so it's like a complete switch. So that's an intriguing thing. But one thing that Ariel and I have talked about is how, in a sense, the Gemini point now is like the master point of the star. Yeah, Adam and I have had this conversation as well. And why? Because one of Venus's nodes resides in Gemini. And therefore, and we only get 2 of these in a lifetime, the Venus transits, where Venus can, in technology allowing, literally be seen visibly transiting in front of the solar disk. And that happened, as we know, in 2004 and 2012. So in a sense, that Gemini is kind of like the lead point of the star. But what I'm really fascinated in is what I see in this Libra exterior conjunction, right? This is Venus back behind the sun, that is part of this cycle that was seeded in Capricorn in January of this year, 22. So I've come to call these like Capricorn Libra cycles. So this will be the first one. So something that was once Aquarius here and Scorpio out there in like 19-month Venus cycle, then through the retrogradation of the Venus star has become Capricorn Scorpio, and now will become Capricorn Libra, right? So I'm really intrigued by that. And eventually it will become Sagittarius Libra. And why that's such a big deal is that as the Gemini point moves to Taurus and moves away from Venus's north node, I believe, Adam could probably confirm or correct.
It's the north node, yep.
That the Capricorn point, right, of this Capricorn, I'm going to call it Capricorn Libra cycle for the first time, that's happening right now, is going to move to Sagittarius, and then will take over as this kind of leading star point, because then it will be Sagittarius for the next generations, where the Venus transits will be seen. Venus literally seen moving in front of the solar disk.
Mars ruled Venus points, or dominated. We're going to have Venus and Jupiter,
right?
But, which sounds good. I mean, Ariel and I talked yesterday about. It's kind of cool that the Venus point is moving back to Libra as opposed to the other way, from Libra to Scorpio. Because, I mean, you just kind of think about that, the idea I did say yesterday, like being entrenched in things, climate change comes to mind, in the sense of, we've got to deal with the stuff that we've been just so enmeshed in, and can't get out of. And this is almost like a chance. That's how I sort of see it on a bigger level. But the other thing that comes to mind in what you're talking about, you know, so in the 1880s, so the star that is happening now is exactly the same as it was in the 1770s, all right? The exact same degrees of the 5 points. So, you know, a 250-year cycle. There's a lot of, you know, okay, American independence, Australia was discovered. There's so many kind of things to do with that big cycle. And then the halfway point of that is the other star you're talking about in the 1880s, where we've got Taurus, Pisces, Sagittarius. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we looked at that a bit, but again, not enough timing to do all this. Like the really big historical cycles of the star, we have, I mean, we need to have a conference like for days to you know, kind of gather all the information and, you know, write a volume or something. Like there's just a lot. But I mean, I really do see it as a, you know, the Venus star and its movements as such a big backdrop to all the other astrology that we see, like, you know, Pluto squaring Eris, and, you know, in the mundane world, we've got this star that really informs us on the cultural pulse and values that are taking place at any particular time.
Julia, I completely agree. I completely agree. It's maybe for me the most missed macro contextualizer that astrologers miss.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is because of what we are as human beings.
Yeah.
We're social, intimate, personal, feeling, sentient beings.
Yeah.
Venus is that for us.
Yeah.
She mirrors that for us. So
yeah.
no,
and that's what we can kind of, let's say, if we change our values about the world, you know, about what's possible, you know, again, you know, what's embedded to be just sort of so normal, and change that, you know, that's how you change the world, isn't it? Well, anyway, so listen, I mean, it just sounds incredible. So someone was asking, what are you talking about? Where is Gemini measuring the pentangle? This is going to be on October the 2nd. We have a symposium where the 5 of us are going to present 1 hour each sessions on the various aspects of the Venus cycle and the Venus star and the Venus transition happening into Libra. Okay, so I'll put the information up in a sec. But yeah, sign up and join us. It's going to be amazing. We've done them since, hang on, let me share the screen. We've done them since 2017, although I do know I remember starting in 2012 for my first Venus workshop. How's that? So that was a while ago. Now let me see if I can, you know what I'm not able to do in my, hang on. So this is what we're gathering for on October the 2nd with these Ariel Goodman, Adam Kelly Hunter, Gemini, and myself, and the topics that we will be presenting. Kelly on the what we call the Kuiper Belt object, particularly Haumea, because she is exactly at 29 degrees of Libra at the time of the conjunction. And sorry, I was just trying to get my pointer and it's gone off now. Oh no. Anyway, and then Adam is going to talk about what he mentioned before about the transition from morning star to evening star, but in the sense of declination and moving north and south. Yes?
Yes, and including looking at the deeper, what it means in our collective stew to go from Capricorn, or to disappear as Capricorn, and then to Cazimi at Libra, and then reappear in Scorpio in the heliacal rise in the evening. That transition through the feminine principle will be the other half of my talk.
Yeah.
The Capricorn into Libra consciousness change.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is, I mean, Ariel and I talk about this a lot in the sense of the two star points, Capricorn and Libra, also being a theme of, you know, the 9.5 months that we're sort of transitioning from, you know, and through, like, I'm sure you'll be combining that as well. And then Ariel, she's, you know, again, been doing this for so long that she has got a lot of information and about the historical cycles and the shift, like this, it's the Scorpio star that's shifting to Libra, and it shifted back in 1926. The Aries point actually shifted in 1929. So, you know, again, we're kind of, you know, these star shifts from one sign to another are really quite meaningful. So Ariel's always got incredible, you know, information to share about working with the Venus star for many, many years that she's been doing it. And then, of course, the Pythagorean mysteries with Gemini, and I'm sure you'll bring in, and the amazing Fibonacci numbers, which are so. Now, did you write in a post this morning that the 10th of the 22nd
Well, right, I was just October 22nd, 2022, right? Although, you know, I had to leave a 2 out or else we get to 7. But 10, 22, 22, you can add those numbers together and you get 5. So
cool.
I saw that in the poster and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Right. Are you planning anything special on that day?
Yeah.
Haven't thought about it?
What it is might remain, you know, here in my heart. Yeah, okay. I mean, my solar return this year, I think, is the 24th.
Oh, on the eclipse. Wow. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then we get the eclipse. So I'm kind of right in between this Venus cazimi and then the total solar eclipse for my solar return this year. Yeah. Actually, what I do have planned for the 22nd, there's a thing, which is like, they're turning the entire city of Concord, California into like an outdoor escape the room Alice in Wonderland game that you play in teams. So I'm having my whole family up to like try to move through those
very agent-like
Wonderland mazes, agent style, right?
Wouldn't you? I'd love to have a conference like that where, you know, you've got different missions to you know, find out stuff, and, you know, anyway, we'll have to plan a really big thing one day.
Brett, did you say it's the whole city's going to plan an Alice in the Kerr Underworld game?
Exactly, totally. And then Nana rises. It's like it's a little bit, you know, it's off of their head or. But fortunately, Enki will send the Kagara with the plant of life and all this, and Alice will come alive again and then return with the heliacal rise as an evening star. Yulia, do we have a few minutes just to add a little piece to the mystery here?
Sure.
And maybe it's what I'll talk about next time in the Aries cycle, but the image is this, and it comes from another cosmic intelligence agent, whose number I forget, you can probably say, but Russell Olhausen.
Oh, 84. He's the Uranus agent.
So 84, well, that makes sense. Absolutely. And it's that, you know, we don't have too many cycles that retrograde their way around the zodiac. And so others are actually the Mercury star, much more of a trickster, chaotic star, and that a 6-pointed star that quickly retrogrades around the zodiac and moves through the elements. And our friend Gary Kane has done a lot of work on that in the elemental years of Mercury. Of course, the nodes, right, which have their 18.6 year, some might say 18.618 year retrograde course around the zodiac. And all of these, you know, the Venus being the longer one, but not nearly as long as the big one, which is the great year, right, which is the precession of the equinoxes due to Earth's tertiary or third motion of axial precession. And what Russell has really helped me see mythologically is that when we move through this turning of the ages, and we'll see images, for example, like Theseus, you know, the kind of Aries warrior decapitating the Minotaur, right, the bull-headed. Or you see it actually in the Inanna story, because Inanna, before she descends, marries the shepherd, the Muzi, right? Aries. And why is she descending? Because she feels the grievance in her sister's heart, for Ereshkigal has just lost her husband, Gugulana, which means the bowl of heaven, right? So this is one of many stories like, the Pleiadian bowl being stabbed and et cetera, right? Or in the Bible, and this is what's interesting, is like, there's this kind of awakening age of the shepherd kings, if you will, during Exodus, but, just after receiving these commandments, where I guess, we have to ignore the one that says, thou shalt not kill. Moses and his brother kill like 3,000 of their own people. And why? Because they are trying to perform these rituals to end their time of disease and starvation. And they have, they're worshiping this golden calf, right? So the important bit there, as in like the next transition from the age of Aries to the age of Pisces, is like, you have the son of the lamb, right? And this like young baby being born, like the calf and the baby, then like this transition from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius should be the minnow, because what happens is we get these baby, right? Because it's like, it's a precessional or retrograde motion. And so it moves from the high degrees of the signs to the low degrees of the signs before the shift. And of course, this is the truth with the Venus star too. So we've been in this like Capricorn reorganization energy, and that remains, but a very important shift is happening now, where from, what was, as I call it, like interior Aquarius, exterior Scorpio, to, which is very just evolutionary, revolutionary, and must change now, to kind of interior Capricorn to exterior Scorpio. And why must it change? And we better do this through some fear, because the ship is fucking sinking, part of my language, right? But now we get to like this Capricorn and like, in a sense, elder, like last degree of Libra, wisdom. And what I would suggest is it offers to us perhaps not like the entrance into, let's reorganize and restructure now, not through the like kind of power and magic of the Scorpio thing, but through balance and harmony of the Libra realm, of the Venusian realm. And it doesn't have to say, okay, this is the beginning of like 104 years. It's, it's like now. We start with the elder energy of it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's something like, I don't want to call it a promise, because I'm, not that arrogant about the astrology, but I believe there's a very solid potential that this shift is felt like immediately, and that there's really a change in the air. And I think part of the madness of the last few years, and so much of this just division program that has been promoted by, the powers that shouldn't be, and those who smoke a lot of TV, that there is a shift now that's coming into harmony and balance and a restructuring, not through like, we need to like save everything before the ship sinks, and therefore we're like too stressed out to do anything about it, but rather like a beautiful key of balance and assistance. And so we can make change, but we do that in like a harmonic way. I mean, that's my prayer. And I believe it starts with this cycle. And I think that when the interior point moves from Scorpio to Libra, that will be a time where we actually see like very kind of clear action being taken that doesn't seem as action oriented. That being said, you just told us that this was alive in the 1770s. And so then I'm looking at the French and the American revolutions and those kinds of things. So time will tell.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's fascinating. But yeah, we have to wait till 2030 for the star to then be fully in there. So it's a little bit like the Jupiter-Saturn cycle that has a little bit of a, one step in, and then we wait 20, 40 years or something for the whole big mutation to take place, right? So, the Venus star has its own mutation. So we're in that transition, which is very pivotal, isn't it?
Yes.
with so many other things coming into the story. So if you don't recognize the cycle yet, of course, the Libra star point, if we see the next one that happens in 2026, it's back to Scorpio and 0. So that's just keeping a pulse on the the, you know, every Venus Sun conjunction, which again, you know, Adam, you know, when we're working with heliacal rising and all that kind of stuff, Ariel and Ariel has prompted, you know, we use the star because it is the pulse. You know, you can rely on the pulse of it, and it's so regular, it's so beautifully timed. You know, why wouldn't you use it, you know, to kind of, you know, align, you know, values and your life with. So it's a really great sort of time to reflect on things. I've always said that I use the Venus star points like eclipse points, you know, because it is although it's not a syzygy of, you know, like a transit point, they're still as powerful to me, and that's how I use them in readings. So that will be my session a few days after the symposium with you four, because I'm too busy to do a session after hosting everyone. So I've put it a few days later so we can really sort of get into a Q&A, and you're welcome to join us for that as well, guys, if you want, and, you know, kind of doing hands-on charts, which astrologers love to do. Well, we learn so much about it then, you know, don't we?
Yeah. I wanted to also just mention here that that on the 22nd for the superior conjunction, there's going to be, that point will be about midway in a course, an online virtual thing I'm doing with basically to invoke in our bodies and in our lives both the Venus, this major Venus or first announcement of its transition, along with the Mars transition, which comes in December with its opposite the Sun retrograde, what I call the transcendence, or the Mars death point.
Yeah.
And so this whole thing will be part of this whole focus that we're doing on desire and the deeper dimensions of authentic human desire, much more important or deeper, I guess, than superficial wantings and what I think I need and all of that, but the kind of the deeper, almost tantric dimension of desire.
Cool. We can put the links on when we send it out or something,
Cool.
or go to Adam's website. Is it on your website to find out more about that?
That's skybody.us.
There you go, skybody.us, if you want to know more about Adam's particular work on this session. About this topic in another session. So if we look at this chart, I think we can just kind of grasp, you know, a sense of what else is going on at the same time, of course. You know, Kelly's going to talk about Haumea. That's the little I can't use my pointer at the moment. I have to go out of the screen and back in to get it. But so that little, you know, little round circles and weird sort of Japanese looking shape, really, isn't it? Next to Venus is Haumea. And they, you know, this point squares Pluto. So again, a really big rebirth happening somehow, as Kelly mentioned the other day. Haumea, of course, being the goddess of fertility and childbirth. So it's a really powerful and potent image of, you know, rebirthing something, you know, and the pain that you go through in order to do that.
You know, Julie, I just want to say, watching the part one with you and Ariel and then you and Kelly, I was so, Kelly and I are longtime colleagues.
Yeah, right.
It's been a long time. She is so passionate. She is so just in what she teaches. It was just like so great to get her transmission. It was very refreshing. It was great.
I love her updates because it's kind of not many people, you know, kind of working with that. And again, these are the people we learn from. So, you know, she's wonderful that she can make it. You know, Mercury is stationing Saturn, you know, kind of really squaring Uranus as well. It's like the closest square, the closest they get again in the last of their square, which is really interesting as well. Like, it's almost like, are we at the, I mean, Saturn square Uranus has been such a trial. This time round. I mean, you know, have we noticed it this much before? I know I haven't. What about you guys? just
Oh,
in the state of the world and everything.
oh, it's totally living up to its bad reputation. Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it kind of means that this is the last, closeness that they have, and they won't come,
Knock
as
on wood.
close together again. Thank goodness.
Yes.
So we are maybe finishing a very difficult period. I mean, if there's more coming, there's other things coming up. But how do you see that the Saturn Uranus kind of in here, Gemini?
I mean, I'll stick with your story because it sounds great.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when Pluto makes way into Aquarius, and I am interested in that the coming Uranus-Pluto trine will be from these air signs, and for Uranus near a node as well. But yeah, I mean, we've had so much of that square and so much of the Saturn Uranus square, and we are ready for some shift out of this mix for sure.
Sure.
I just want to add about this Venus point, and I love that Adam calls it transmutation. Adam, what do you call the retrograde conjunction and then the heliacal rise in your work?
That's the transmigrational underworld. Transmigration, which is a complete, you're no longer transmuting or changing, you're not growing and evolving, you're literally the dying and being reborn as something new with a new shell, with a new body.
Love it. Yeah, I kind of see them as the retrograde conjunction. So in this particular cycle, Capricorn is the intention, and then the exterior, the direct conjunction is the initiation. And so it's like if we have intentions of bringing Venus and love to Capricorn and like new structures that actually work for Earth and preserve the sacred traditions for the 7 future generations, that we are going to need to be initiated in what balance and harmony and real relations, and listening as much as we speak, and really wanting to be able to see the world through the other's eyes and allow them to see the world through ours. Like that's this necessary initiation for this thing to happen. And I think the energies of our time and like what we're seeing out and about are actually like dancing to that song. They're just kind of dancing out of rhythm. And I think that this star shift, like here and then moving into the 2030s, as you said before, Yulia, I think we're really going to start to see that people hear the music and realize that like, you can dance gracefully even when the song is kind of strong. Right. And that for me is like the shift and this kind of necessary initiation that's actually just now being offered, or not even yet, like in October being offered. The fact that it's followed so shortly after by a total solar eclipse in Scorpio is like, it's like, the sky, the cosmos are, there's no coincidence in cosmos and comedy being so clearly related,
I mean, they're so
linguistically.
Only a few days apart, aren't they? Look, Jupiter at the 0 Aries point, when Mars is stationing retrograde, he's out of bounds, and I've got something else there, but it's behind our thing. But I mean, that's so powerful, isn't it? As well, like are we making a point yet?
Right.
And what's the point? Yeah. Sorry, go
ahead. Julie, I just wanted to insert there too. I'm as equal a lover and follower and student of Mars as I am of Venus. And on the 7th of December will be the Mars, as I mentioned, Mars's opposition with the Sun. Yes. I call it the transcendence point. It's where Mars dies up and out. The masculine dies up and out. The feminine, not women, but the feminine principle dies or comes into repose down and in. And this is more of a kind of a evocative description maybe than a literal one for people or whatever. But on that point, I'm just kind of keying off, Brett, what you were sharing there. It really inspires me that on that 7th, on the December 7th, Mars's Sun opposition, the moon will actually pass in front of Mars and eclipse Mars at the moment of his perigee. At the moment of his closest proximity to the Earth that he ever gets in 2 years. And so it's kind of a blood Mars moon. It's a blood Mars moon eclipse.
And so
thing.
visible, of course, because it's opposite.
It's visible in almost all of the United States clouds, allowing that particular Moon Mars occultation, right? Like just like solar eclipses can't be seen everywhere on Earth, even though Moon, is conjoined the Sun. The same is true for planetary or star occultations by Moon. And this particular one is seen in the United States, which might have something to say, in mundane reality and how that's going to play out. I know I'm going to have a little gathering in San Diego, and we're going to focus on sacred geometry because we have 12 signs and 7 planets, and we're going to get to play with the compass in real time.
So if it's visible there, it means it's not visible. Well, the actual occultation down here, it can only be.
The occultation will not be visible in Australia. Yeah. I mean, part of it is obviously it has to be nighttime for the moon to be seen. And then the other bit is because of parallax and, the strange thing that like, though we measure planets' placements from the center of the earth, and this is wonderful because that's where earthlings are all one. That especially for the moon, who's close enough to really make a difference. Like when you play from one place of the surface of Earth from another, there's not only shifts in the way that a moment will express itself through the astrological houses, but like literally where the moon and where her nodes are seen in the backdrop of the heavens. So yeah, I've been eyeing that. I have my sights set on San Diego because it's a place where we're more likely to get clear weather in December, so I can actually see that thing. Because Adam, you probably have 50 under your belt, but I haven't actually watched a planet occulted by the moon yet, and I'm really excited to witness that.
Jupiter once in the outback. We watched it for hours. Like it sort of took ages. We knew it was going to happen anyway, but anyway, it was a fantastic experience.
Brett, I just want to say, Brett, yes, I don't know 50, but a few. And what so surprised me was like when I was there, not just watching with my eyes and my brain, ticking through all the data and going, wow, isn't this amazing? But like dropping into my body, I experienced quite a bit of fear. It wasn't based on anything. It wasn't related to what's going on in my life. There's a sudden storm. There's alien marauders trying to, kill me. There's none of that. It was just, I'm watching this. I'm so in my element. And not suddenly, but gradually, I developed a tangible sense of being afraid. I just let it go. I felt it, let it go. And then it was gone when it was over. That's what really surprised me about these events. It didn't always happen every time, but it happened about half the time for me.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's amazing that if we stop speaking to the sky and start listening, that we're continuously surprised about what we get, and it often does not necessarily participate with what we might delineate. And yeah, I mean, I love just being an eternal student of this marriage of heaven and earth, and awe and wonder is the password, and you never know what you're going to get.
Keep listening and watching. That's right. Gemini, do you want to say something about the biquintile exact to Neptune for this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like given that biquintile structure itself, which is, within the kind of
star,
the sacred structure of the star. I mean, it's not by definition golden, but it does show us this connection between Libra and Pisces and these points that are just emerging for the Venus star. Of course, it's going to be a little bit longer before the current Aries point moves to Pisces. It's intriguing to see Jupiter retrograde right at that equinox point and moving back into Pisces after. Like there's another premonition here, right? And the moon is antitia Jupiter, and the moon is contra-parallel Neptune in this chart as well. So yeah, I think that really it says and reminds us that one of the great needs of the Venusian love is art. And I always like to say that the art of the chart starts in the heart, and that compassion of the Pisces mysteries, that like non-hierarchical, equal relating, to use terms from the shamanic astrology mystery school of the Libra mysteries, right? Like this initiation, which isn't necessarily gentle, because if we haven't been living in that way, we will probably get like kind of immediate reminders of how necessary it is. But it does, I think, invoke a shift into a better space. And I'm spending a lot of time contemplating these 1770s, because you just brought us back there, Yulia, of when the star was last doing this. Like, I think I saw it was 1771, maybe, when it was that shift into 29 Libra. Like, what's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
And that was right at the foot of, well, the discovery of Uranus, the Industrial Revolution. How's that working out for us?
French
In some ways
Revolution.
beautifully, in some ways not so much. American Revolution, French Revolution, like times of really great change. And on one level, I think here, two of us are living in the United States. Like, if we could return to some of those dreams, and some of those pretty words, that maybe never manifested, that would be nice. And could we have another revolution, but this time perhaps a bloodless
Heart
revolution?
revolution. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Well, heart has got art in the word as
it
well.
does. As is
So
Earth.
yes, yes, right. And look at what Homea represents. Peace and harmony and creative and healing. So again, there's things that we need to sort of what do you call it? Remind ourselves of being the creators of this world. I won't get into this because a lot of you know about, of course, the sacred geometry of the Venus cycle, and there's more in all the videos we've done previously about it all. So just check out Gemini's YouTube channel, Adam's, the CIA's, Ariel's. You'll find a lot more information. I just wanted to have a quick look at the astrocartography of the actual Venus star points. The pink ones are the Venus Sun conjunctions, and the yellow ones are the crossings with Pluto. Just to kind of be aware, I don't want to predict anything in particular, but it's always amazing what does happen at kind of very important ingresses or conjunctions of two planets. So I mean, one thing, I didn't put a star. See, over just in Indonesia, I haven't just on top of Australia, where Venus and the Sun are, I didn't put a star there, I forgot. But I just heard that there's a climate change summit in Bali, in just after the Venus star point. And I think climate change is a really big issue that is part of what's going on to change our minds about what we can continue to keep doing or not, right? Or change things. And if there will be some other agreements that have not happened, over the last 20 years or something, because of disagreements, maybe there'll be some kind of new road forward in that regard somehow. Then we can see a crossing again with Pluto on what do you call it, Brazil and the top of South America there. Maybe there's some kind of move towards, I don't know, let's just think about the Amazon and natural resources and indigenous peoples. And I was talking to Ariel about that yesterday in our recorded session, in regard to how Australia's kind of opening up too much more with our new government to recognising the needs of our indigenous peoples and First Nations people. So, hopefully that sort of thing also continues around the planet, right? Anything you want to add there? I mean, again, this is just a map that we kind of should keep our eye on as this transition happens as well.
Yeah. I would just say, Julia, that
yeah,
that for me, just from my experience, that I totally agree with you. Though I tend to see it that how these changes, if they're going to happen, are going to manifest, will be more at the rising when Venus reappears to us, and now we're in visual relationship again, less at the cazimi, which is the inceptioning point, the star.
So it manifests later. Yeah, yes. Well, I mean, I remember, Adam, when the first images of, the first, bombs or tanks firing in Ukraine,
Right.
were came, and it was like, oh my God, that's Venus in the morning sky there. And she had just, come up, and I was just like, wow. So she had just come to light, hadn't she? Or oh no, she was already up, but she was very prominent in the night sky. Oh no, because it was after her retrograde. That's right.
Yes. And to your point, Julia, the Maya tradition.
Yes.
And the related traditions, they do not relate to this planet anything as feminine. These are the hero twin brothers, and the morning star brother is the warmongering brother.
War one,
Huitzilopochtli, and the evening star brother, Tezcatlipoca, and the evening star brother is Quetzalcoatl, the peace. So this is very much, and funny, when you said that, I remembered watching this the first time and going, that's Venus rising. That's like, what?
The war goddess. Here she is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right. Wow. I know. Powerful stuff. This is the eclipse chart. It's not so much different. Although I did notice, because it's only 2 days later, or 3 days later, or 2 days later, that we've got Venus. She's still, of course, right in the same partile degree of the eclipse, so she's right there, and I noticed that as we said, Mars stationing's out of bounds. He's at the midpoint of Saturn and the eclipse as well, which I noticed. So
I noticed too, Julia, that he's also at the point of galactic anti-center, the point opposite galactic center.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Roughly within a couple degrees.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, the galactic center zone is massive.
Right. It has an orb.
Degree.
That's my moon degrees, 25 Gemini, and that especially with where Mars will be at the time, it's very close to what in the Celtic prophetic tradition they call the hand of the high man. So it's like Orion's club.
Right.
And this is one of these places, one of the 2 places in our skies where the ecliptic, as I call the circle of spirit, because it's where the sun lives, but it's the plane of our solar system and the plane of our galaxy cross, right? So it's like, the neighborhood and the city, if you will, or like the city and the state, like that kind of thing, right? And so one, of course, is at galactic center, which projects to 27 tropical Sag, as we know. But on the exact opposite side, as Adam was saying, like where Mars is at this time, where the Moon-Mars occultation will be in December. This is this place that I learned as the Silver Gate, and we're told by the Dakota people that this is where our souls come from. And we see this in a lot of tales, actually, like for the Maya tradition, there's this, the hearthstones in the sky are Orion's feet, and then the easternmost belt star Mintaka, and they surround, we're told, the smoke of creations, which is Orion's nebula. We can even probably see in stories where Asur, or who we call Osiris, went through the Duat and became heavenly as that constellation we now call Orion. Well, there's this whole story about, the golden phallus of Osiris that magically produced this virgin birth through the great queen Isis, the Horus, who is the sun. And so it's telling us that the sun, I believe, was born in, what we call Orion's sword, but might be something totally else. And it's where this Orion's nebula is. There's a lot of stories that seem to suggest that our star, or the sun, don't tell the astronomers, they'll smack me, but that our star, the sun, was born in the Orion Nebula, and that we're kind of coming from that place and moving towards the Milky Way, which I actually think is not necessarily our home galaxy, but a galaxy that we are merging with, and it's like our new home. Yeah. So with Mars there at this time, there's something where he is Oh, singing like the strange, forgotten Gemini stories of this place that we come from. And when moon and sun come together in such a powerful way like this, we have these opportunities. I know you two have witnessed this total solar eclipse, and they're just the most magical things. We have these opportunities to really, like, in an accelerated way, do some shift work. So, I mean, this is like, it is the highlight of this year astronomically.
Yeah.
I'd
Right.
say with this Venus star point change, and this is a very powerful solar eclipse.
Yeah. Just one more thing.
Beautiful, Brett. Beautiful.
The peak opposition, the Sun, Mars, when it's in its peak, what degree is that? About 14, Gemini? 14, 15?
I'm sorry, Yulia, what was the question?
The peak of the Mars retrograde, Sun opposition, is that around 14 Gemini?
Yeah, let me grab that chart.
Yeah,
Because I mean, this kind of brings back the Venus, transit story and the node of Uranus, the north node of Uranus.
1639 Gemini.
Oh, it's 16. Okay. But the north node of Uranus is like 15 Gemini, which is interesting. Or 14, 14, 15. So, again, sort of a PowerPoint that, once you sort of start working with the heliocentric nodes of the planets, you kind of remember them, like star points. Oh, 11 degrees of Aquarius is the Neptune north node, and, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's another story. So this is where the eclipse go through. It's only a partial eclipse. So, I mean, there's a lot going on in Europe, like everywhere in the world. But, perhaps, it will be quite a focal point around that time. And we'll talk about this more at the equinox update that we'll do, because we're running out of time. I've got to let these guys go. And this is the eclipse kind of areas as well to keep an eye on, where they're rising and setting around the planet at the time.
Yulia, I've been keeping an eye on your work with these maps and mundane expressions, and you have got me rather convinced. And hopefully everybody's following the Cosmic Intelligence Agency and following Yulia's work.
I don't do enough work on it, like as a, it's almost like, it's like you need to focus on one subject, and I've got too many, like a real bicycle.
Well, I'm just saying, you'll put up a Facebook post, and I'm like, damn.
So I do it when I've got
that's
time.
really, really real.
Yeah, but I do it when I've got time. But I was saying to Maurice the other day that I'd love to, the agents to come together more in a sense and have like a kind of a stream ticker tape type of thing of, like, what's the news today? Here it is, like Mars going into Gemini went straight through Istanbul, and then there was all these crashes that happened, ingress of Mars into Gemini, just kind of like not one person can do it themselves, but I'd love to see it as opposed to getting off social media and onto our own website as a news kind of feed. Anyway, that's kind of an idea for when I got more time to organize it. But incredible. Anyway, this is the whole cycle we're kind of in the middle of, and then moving towards the full, like, as you two work with the whole cycle. Of course, we work with the whole cycle to see, Venus in all her kind of apparitions during, 19 months. So, she's about to disappear. She'll come out in November after this long period of time. So I think for all of us, the transition that now we're going through, if it's the underworld or the upper world or whatever you want to look at it, we will be going through some kind of powerful process anyway. And the way to understand it is to think about 19 months ago when Venus was doing the same kind of transition, but in different signs. 4 years ago when Venus was retrograde in the same area, and 8 years ago, of course, when Venus was in Scorpio, moving out into Libra, as the evening star. So there's a lot of really great ways to connect Venus in your story, because she's very moon-like in what she does, right? Because we know the moon is a 4-year kind of cycle as well, to be in the same spot every 4 years, but not as a new moon, but then as a full moon. So in the same axis. And this is what we're, kind of work with Venus. So I'm going to wrap up now. Just there's a lot more, information about tracking, the sky. I asked Gemini to write this column, but he's too busy. So I've been writing it about, the next 3 months in the sky, and then whatever else kind of comes up. I can't write everything, but anyway, so keep an eye on Time Lords. It's free magazine. It's at the front of our website. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. And if you've got anything to contribute, we'd love to hear from you, because it's actually a growing volume, and astro.com has just picked up one of our columns as a regular separate feature on their website. I can't tell you more right now, but it's pretty exciting.
That's so awesome, Yulia. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to Alex Trennerworth, Agent 144, who has, she came to me a while ago saying, we need to do a magazine, it would be great. And I'm going, have you got time for that? And I said, if you get the people to write, we can make it happen. So it's pretty exciting. And then the next really exciting thing is, and this is my dream, to have both of you and more of the Venus Star practitioners for some kind of a conference somewhere in the world. We really got to work on that, don't we? That we come together for a bigger event. We put together what we could here for in Hillsville, Victoria. Gemini, you've been there with us before a few years ago, 5 years ago. So we've themed this one on Venus because we found the place was available right on the weekend of the Venus Star conjunction.
Right on.
It happens in the morning, and I just jumped on it. So it's going to be incredible. We're utilizing the agents in Melbourne mostly, but Alex Trennerworth is coming from the UK to add her expertise. So do have a look at the program on site. We're about 2/3 full, so we're looking for the other 8 magic people to come and join us. So don't delay. It's going to be amazing. We always say that the CIA star camps or retreats are, you come in, kind of not really knowing what to expect, but you come out like incredibly magical. So that is our aim.
I can testify to that, and to that. It's a very beautiful center and comfortable and lovely with great food and the gums near Melbourne. Food. It's really worth it. Do it if you can.
Thanks, Gemini. So yeah, but with all of us, we need to work on something that we can all gather somewhere to do something amazing. And then all these the events that we have with Adam, Ariel, Gemini, the Venus Symposium coming up is discounted for members. We've got a 20% discount for anybody to join us for till the 12th of September. But then if you join the CIA, you'll get another 20% off. So we have got over 100 webinars that you can access anytime if you log in as a member to the CIA. Have a look on site, like incredible speakers like both of Gemini and Ariel, and all content that we've gathered over the years. And the next session we have, Adam, is with Michelle Kennedy.
Andrea Michelle, yes.
Yeah, and so
Andrea,
sorry, I'm calling Andrea, who's going to be taking us through the whole Mars Gemini retrograde cycle. She's learned from the best, or mostly, I suppose. Well, I don't know. Actually, worked with Adam for so long. So it's going to be great to have her as part of that. And then this is what we've all been talking about. So join us for this, the 2nd of October. The details will be in the links provided here. And yeah, I hope you can join us, everyone, and enjoy the info today. I'm going to stop the share, come back to the guys. Have you been following the chats here, Gemini?
I have. There's a lot. I want to say, although you got to scroll up a bit now because people are being very participatory, which is exactly what we want to see. But if you're here live on the Zoom right now, you'll find in the chat that I posted a link for Adam's coming Sky Body experience.
Oh, thank you, man.
Also YouTube playlists for a playlist of mine that calls the 13th Flower, which is
Oh,
devoted
cool.
to the Venus cycle, and then another one called Art of the Chart, which is devoted to some of the
Yeah.
sacred geometry, starting with what I share with Cosmic Intelligence Agency or through the CIA some years ago. And also my website is there. And Adam, I know you were going to bring us through a practice. I was wondering if I could put a picture on the screen
Oh,
when that time comes.
go for it, man. Go for it. Yes.
Yulia, are we there or are there other
Yes, I'm just going to
closing?
put the link to the event in the chat, and I'll post the chat up as I post up the recording on our website. So we go. Thank you so much, both of you. We're going to finish with Adam taking us through a 2-minute um,
Simple.
intention, mission, let's call it,
Yes. Yes.
to realign ourselves with what's coming up. I mean, it's pretty exciting overall, but again, you know, it's amazing how astrology can help us understand it all. So again, thanks everyone for being online here with us in the webinar and on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you see this. And thanks so much to you two beautiful agents. I can't wait for our sessions coming up.
Me too. And thank you, Yulia, for including me and just for keeping it
Keeping it
together and
flowing.
bringing so much beautiful cosmic information to the people of Earth as you have for so long. I'm really honored to be a part of it.
Thanks, Agent. Cool. Thanks,
Mhm.
Adam.
Okay.
So, Adam, just before you start, I think you'll know this place. This is the labyrinth of joyful journeys.
Oh my gosh.
I've
Yeah.
got to move my camera to see Venus, which you'll see up above the young angel
Oh,
here, a moon Venus conjunction. It was
Oh, Brett,
the
thank you.
last one that happened in Leo. This is the chart for that time, but I'm going to switch now to the chart for the coming Kazemi, and maybe that image or this chart will offer a portal as Adam brings us through an experience.
Okay, everyone. So I'm inviting you to pull your hands and fingers away from your keyboard. Inviting you to, if you're more comfortable, to close your eyes in order to go inward. And allow your mind and the energy that's been going in to feed thoughts and understanding from what we've been sharing here to be redirected into more of an internal awareness of your internal universe within your body now. Allow your breathing to be roughly equal on the inhale and the exhale, and very, very natural. In this incredible moment in time that we are all sharing together here, I'm inviting you to find within your body your center. Try to feel your way there rather than mentally identify it. Feel where you are most centered in this moment. Very gently, open to your entire life that has already occurred. All the choices you've made, all the successes and the mistakes, all the joys and the pains, up until this point that you've experienced. And allow all of your past, this past, to be right here with you, met in love and forgiveness. Feel you in this moment breathing now as the evolutionary culmination of everything you've been through, beginning with the inception of your life when your parents came together in union. This moment now. And likewise now, very gently, allowing your breath to be natural again. Turning your attention to what's to come. Tomorrow, next week. For the Venus transmutation, superior conjunction, next year, and even further than that. However far you want to imagine, feel yourself now as the absolute perfect seed holding all the genetic and cosmic keys for the perfect manifestation of your future right now. Finally, allow yourself to feel, sense, smell, taste, touch, hear yourself here in the very center of all of your past and all of your future. In fact, we can even sense the lines of energy from both past and future returning, coming to us, and emanating out from us. With a few slightly deepened breaths into your chest and then into your belly, and then chest and then into your belly. Own this. I am the culmination of everything before, and I am the joyful seed of everything to come. Feel this throughout your whole body. And as this is happening or completing for you, if there's anyone, any ones, anywhere, or anywheres in your life that you would like to share the blessing or what you are receiving here from our conversation and this experience now here with, just see them receiving it. Big breath into your chest, a full exhale. And if you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes. Thank you, everyone, very much. Brett, it's an honor to listen and learn from you as always. Julia, it's an honor to listen and learn from you always. Thank you.
And to you too. Okay, blessings, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you.